Hello, welcome to the Bearded Tits podcast, hosted by me, Jack Perks. Professionally, I'm a wildlife cameraman, but I dabble in podcasting, and each Tuesday we release an episode as I have a chat with scientists, artists, filmmakers, and passionate people all about nature in a light-hearted and certainly not serious way. Hello and welcome to the Bearded Tits podcast. I'm your host, Jack Perks. Now, I should say Happy New Year, really, because we're into 2026. I'm quite excited for today's podcast. So I'm chatting to Simon Thomas, who is a marine fisheries and ecology consultant based in Plymouth in the southwest. And what Simon has been dealing with a fair bit this year is the octopus invasion. Or I should say last year, 2025, there was a huge influx of octopus into the southwest of England. So that was something that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that, what's caused it, what are the effects of it, anything to talk about marine life. I'm always game for that. Now, I want to mention a couple of things before we get going. So the first one is on the 7th and the 8th of February, I'm going to be at the British Fly Fair International. So it's a fly fishing show, it's in Staffordshire, and it's at Staffordshire Showground. I've been doing it for the past decade. I normally have a little stall there. I sell books and cards and calendars and all my usual tat. But I'm also going to be doing a talk there talking about how I've caught over 100 different UK fish. So if you are in the West Midlands on the 7th and the 8th of February 2026, why not come along, come and say hello. I'll be on the store. I saw some listeners last year from the podcast. It was great to kind of connect with a couple of those. So I would love to kind of bump into a few of you and have a bit of a catch up. I'm also planning to do Bird Fair again this year. I did meet some podcast listeners at Bird Fair, which was lovely. I haven't 100% confirmed it, but I was speaking to the organisers and we're looking to do something at Bird Fair and hopefully have a slightly bigger role this year. I've got a couple of ideas for them which will be quite exciting. Now, my final bit of news is I have recently appeared on the BBC Radio 4 show Nature Table. So if you're not familiar with it, Sue Perkins, who's like the comedian, she hosts a show called Nature Table. And the premise is that they have herself, a comedian, and two experts, and they talk about kind of nature and wildlife's oddballs and funny things to do with it. So I got asked to do that. And the reason that they asked me was the producer of that show had been sent episodes of this podcast. And he got in touch with me and said, would you like to come on and talk about fish? I said, of course, I don't need any encouragement. So I don't know when it's out exactly. We recorded it. When I have dates, I will let you guys know. But if you already listened to it, it's called Nature Table, BBC Radio 4. That will be out at some point. I think it was quite a fun episode. It was good. I won't say what species I talked about. I'll save that for the episode. But it was good fun. The producer gave me a slightly backhanded comment, which was he listened to an episode I did on salmon. And he said, I never thought that someone on their own in the Scottish Highlands talking about salmon could be that interesting. And I thought there's a compliment in there somewhere. But it got me the gig anyway, so I enjoyed doing that. Let me mention buymeacoffee.com before we get onto the chat with Simon. So buymeacoffee.com is a website that enables you, the listener, to support me. I do this completely independently. I'm not sponsored. I don't have any way to fund this except you, the listener. So if you can donate, I'm only asking for the price of a coffee or a pint, about a £5, and you can help me keep this podcast going. And most importantly, help it keep independent. That means that I don't have to rely on advertisers who I may or may not agree with what they do. So you can also leave a message. I'm going to read out some of the messages that people have already done. So this is from Chris Greenwood, who bought me a coffee, and he put, enjoyed your episode at Celtic Rewilding far too much. What a knowledgeable and eloquent ambassador for wildlife Harvey is. He speaks far beyond his years. He does. He's a 60-year-old trapped in a 20-year-old's body. Truly inspiring. I am now fascinated by frogs and their potential return to the UK landscape. Bring it on. Thanks for a brilliant podcast, Jack. Keep them coming, please. So that was the last podcast which we did on bringing back tree frogs and other frogs to the UK with Harvey from Celtic Rewilding. Gareth bought you 3 coffees. Thank you, Gareth. Enjoyed the walk up the mountain. Bought you 3 coffees. Now back to the video. Cheers. I'm a fan. So I also use Buy Me a Coffee for my YouTube channel, Chasing Scales. So people will donate via the channel. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do. It's a great way to support me and it costs you nothing. Just a click of a button. It's called Chasing Scales. If you've got 5 minutes, you don't need 5 minutes, do you? If you've got 10 seconds, that'll help me out massively. And someone anonymously bought me 3 coffees, and they've put, just discovered this podcast. The last episode is about tree frogs, my absolute favourite. Thank you for doing that. So yeah, you can do it anonymously as well if you'd rather not have your name read out. If you can donate, that's really helpful. I'm trying to raise £1,000 at the minute. Basically so that I can do podcasts a little bit further afield, and at the minute we're on 18.5% of that goal. So if you can spare a couple of coppers to help me get towards that goal, and able to do some podcasts with a few people, I've lined up some very exciting podcasts with some people I wasn't sure I'd even get on the show. So if you can donate whatever you can, that'll help me massively. I feel like I've waffled on long enough now, so let's get on to today's episode. Chat to Simon Thomas all about the octopus invasion. Here's our chat. Welcome to the podcast, Simon.
Welcome. Lovely to be here.
Do you want to just say who you are and what you do before we crack on?
Yeah, name's Simon Thomas. I'm a bit of an oddball because I have a PhD in molecular ecology, yet I work in fisheries. I'm both still an avid recreational fisherman, and I've also still dabble in commercial. I've been commercial fishing since I was 17, which is 41 years ago now. So, yeah, I've got sort of a broad interest in the ocean. I suppose I'm a bit like most people. I just like being out there.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic place to be, isn't it? Because you're southwest based now, did you say?
I am based in Plymouth, yeah.
Based in Plymouth, okay. And you said south. Where are you from in the southeast originally?
Brighton.
Brighton, okay. My wife's from next to Dungeness, that neck of the woods. So
I used to fish Dungeness a lot back in the day.
Well, my father-in-law actually used to do a bit of commercial fishing off Dungeness, and I went out on a boat with him a few years ago they do like netting for sole and stuff like that, and I get a bit. I've got pretty good sea legs, but it's like, yeah, it's not that rough, and it was like a fucking washing machine. I went green. It was horrendous.
And your beach launch from Dungeness as well, aren't you?
Yeah, that's an experience. Yeah, I've never done that.
Yeah.
Never done that before.
It's when they come back in and you think, oh my God, they're going to die. And they managed to do it. So
they're just bonkers, aren't they? But so the thing I wanted to chat about, which has been the hot topic of one of the hot topics anyway of 2025, is this octopus. I don't know if it's the right word, invasion. Maybe that's the tabloids sensationalizing it a little bit. But can you just tell me a little bit about this this octopus invasion? I'll use inverted commas to the British.
Invasion bloom, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I mean, interestingly, this isn't unique. This has happened at least twice before we know about. It happened in 1900 and it happened in 1950. And both times we saw an unnaturally, I would say, large number of octopus. Octopus always been here. Sometimes virtually absent, and sometimes we see them occasionally. But to give you some idea, in the first 39 years I was down this way, I saw one common octopus. I saw lots of the curled octopus, but I saw one. I caught one off the Eddystone, which grabbed hold of a bait in that 2011, and suddenly this year we were starting to hear reports of not just a few but astronomically high numbers. And octopus tends to be a solitary species. So it was a bit of a mystery. But when we checked back, we found references to these 2 previous blooms and several other smaller blooms. And I mean, it started off in the sort of south of the Channel blocks and the Herds Deeps. It's been happening in France for a couple of years, and it spread to the Channel Islands. And then suddenly sort of the crabbing blocks and southeast of Start Point, they started to see A, large numbers of octopus, and B, very low numbers of crab.
Yeah.
So the two may well be connected.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it started off being a bone of contention amongst scientists. It was like, oh no, they're only grabbing stuff from pots, but we've got more and more evidence. I saw a video the other day of one hunting a lobster in the open.
Oh, wow.
It creeps up behind it, grabs hold of it, injects it with its beak, and then basically sucks the insides out and spits the rest away. I mean, they're an incredible predator. I mean, to give you some idea, our last common ancestor with the octopus was 518 million years ago.
Incredible.
It was a worm. Yet they've evolved eyes completely separately to ourselves. They have an incredibly complex neuron network. Their brains basically are completely unlike ours. They're decentralized. You have 9 brains, one central one, and 8 for each tentacle.
Incredible.
Um, if you look at the genome of an octopus, it looks like somebody's put a genome in a blender. So normally you get genes in these clusters, and they're sort of, they're read in sequence, but they've got these sort of random, sort of important genes, like the HOX gene that's responsible for body plan, um, and the protocardian gene, which is responsible for neurodevelopment. It's like somebody's just scattered them through the
Yeah.
genome. And it's probably these mobile genetic elements called transposons that have led to them sort of just moving around. And they even edit their own RNA. So, in response to environmental conditions, they can edit it to produce different proteins. I mean, it's an absolute that they are as near to an alien as you can see on this planet from a genome point of view.
Well, also they're so what is basically a sea slug. If we want
Yeah,
to be,
yeah.
they're a mollusk, same family as slugs. They're far more intelligent than that animal should be,
Oh,
really, because I think they're capable of problem solving, aren't they?
oh, they're open jars.
Yeah,
There was one famous case in San Diego where they were trying to work out why fish were disappearing, and they found the octopus was opening the lid of his tank, crawling across the floor, going up the other side into the other tank, opening that lid, eating the fish, then going back whilst closing the lid behind him.
that's incredible.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
absolutely incredible creatures, and they only live for 1 to 2 years.
Well, this is the other thing I was going to ask you about. Is obviously we've got this bloom, but it can't. Surely it can't be sustainable. It can't keep going on. So is this likely to be a one-off event? Do you think, or the
I
signs of things to come?
I mean, we have found some common denominators in the previous blooms and this one. Um, Both had very warm summers previously,
Right.
and there was also an event where strong easterly winds in the spring made transport of larvae across the channel possible.
Got
So
you.
there is a current system called the Ushant Tidal Front that basically marks the edge of Atlantic water and Channel water, and it sort of spews across from the north of France, where the Ushant rivers come in, is formed by the riverine systems of northern France, and it sort of oscillates off start point. So in the summer, it marks the edge of mixed water, which is to the east of it, and stratified water to the west of it. And basically, it's a transport system. So unlike you would think, the currents actually come across the ocean and then go westward. So they come to start point and then run westward, and it
Right.
connects us to the Celtic front and the Celtic Sea. So we had this wonderful model. We looked at it and we worked out, oh, brilliant, larvae are coming across this is it. Octopus don't move. Octopus don't migrate. This has got to be larvae. And then, of course, we put it into real life, and actually they were here already. And so we have this huge question. Um, how do they get here?
Yeah.
Because we suddenly started seeing adult octopus in February of 2025, and they gradually spread to the point where now they're even found off Newquay. And I mean, some of the scientists disagree with me, but when you plot the data and see how the movements are, it is feasible that they are doing something that they don't normally do, which is migrate. I'm not saying they do, but it's possible they do. And I suppose it would be analogous to the locust.
Yeah.
So when the locust is singular, it's a solitary creature. But when it's in massive numbers, and you could think of it as a sort of resource thing, you need to move.
There's only going to be so many crabs and things for them to eat, and if
There
you've got
is,
lots of them, they gotta move or starve.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
and we will test that hypothesis. Hopefully, if we get some money, we can do some tagging, which will be acoustic tags, hopefully, and maybe we'll find something completely unique. I hope so, because I think it's
Yeah.
really exciting if you find
Yeah.
something, it's but yeah, it's a story of, a typical scientific hypothesis looks great until you test it, and then it's just like, nah, it doesn't really
How
work.
big do they get?
10 kilos, the biggest one I've heard of.
Christ. Okay, so they're
So
not.
6 or 7 foot long.
Bloody hell, you'd know if you were diving with that then, wouldn't you? That's a
Yeah,
big animal.
there have been, but I mean, there was the big landing by the Enterprise, the beam trawler at Newlyn, which was the record amount of money made for one catch,
Yeah.
which was done in April. And in a similar area, other boats were making as much as, if not more, from potting. They were
Wow.
potting for octopus because they couldn't catch a crab.
No.
And scallops as well. Scallop numbers have. There was a survey on one of the big scallop brands out of Plymouth, and it was 90% down on last year.
Likely because of Octopus.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you can
Can't
never
say with
say
any hun.
absolutely.
No, 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 no.
You
Okay.
know, you could say, maybe the environmental conditions we saw led to the reduction, but in reality, if you work out what an octopus has got to eat to survive,
Yeah, sure.
and what a lot of octopus have got to eat to survive, you can, they are fairly major predators of crustaceans. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you get three dressed up in a trench coat, sort of coming up on the land and going into a fish restaurant and ordering crab and then doing a runner.
No,
It is an absolutely extraordinary situation. And as I say, it's not unprecedented,
no.
but it's unusual. And I suppose we do have this situation where we have a unique set of environmental events.
And are they restricted? I mean, you mentioned mainly the southwest. Have they pushed up country, or
A
are
little
they
bit.
a little bit? Okay.
They've been recorded as far north as Oban
Oh wow. Okay.
and even some into the east coast. And though it's difficult because I've only got the landings, I haven't got actually where they were caught. So
Yeah, of course.
it
Yeah,
may
yeah,
be
yeah.
some of the scallop boats had a few coming around the corner. But yeah, the previous blooms they were found as far as Brighton. And
Wow.
there were, whether these are true or not, I don't know, but there were reports of sort of octopus crawling up the beach on Brighton seafront and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
in
I
trench
mean,
coats.
if you're a crab fisherman or a lobster fisherman or a scalloper, they're you can call it a plague because some of these people have lost 80% of their income, and not everyone's been able to catch octopus. So you've got the situation where, a largely sustainable portion of the fleet is basically being decimated. But if you're a diver or anyone who's in, it must be absolutely incredible to see these creatures because they are, they're amazing.
Well, I was going to ask you about the kind of pros and cons because, yeah, obviously they've all got to eat, and what are they eating? They're eating these commercially valuable species, which also, if they're wiping out large numbers of lobster and crabs, that's going to take time to come back, presumably.
Yeah, and it could be anything 5 to 10 years. But crab numbers in the southwest were going down anyway,
Oh, were they? Okay.
creeping downwards. And yeah, I mean, obviously they've taken a massive hit this year.
Hmm.
But it's it's funny because around about 2015, 2016, everything changed down here. So after that happened, crab numbers start to go down. Our traditional cod species, cod, pollock, haddock, even ling, started to get less and retreat westwards into deeper water. And we've almost seen a switch to apex predators. So
Ah.
tuna, sharks, even sort of some of the dolphin species we've seen in numbers I've never seen before. I mean, I'd seen one fin whale in 30 or 39 odd years, and I saw two in one day. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. But I mean, the numbers of blue sharks is through the roof. Obviously, tuna are everywhere. And this may be, everyone says warming, and obviously warming's, yeah, I'm not going to deny it's a real thing, but maybe this is a pattern that's always happened.
Yeah, because these species have always been here. I think, like you say, like blue,
Occasionally, yeah.
like the tuna thing kind of grinds my gears a little bit because tuna, I mean, like in the 50s, there was a big fishery for them, right? Like Whitby and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that. They were. It's not that tuna have never um not been here before. They went for various overfishing or whatever reason you want to kind of pin on that. But I don't think the warming seas necessarily are the reason we brought tuna back. I think them kind of just coming back on their own steam, really.
yeah. No, I think I mean, my great grandfather was a St. Ives pilchard fisherman, and he recalls his nets being destroyed by big mackerel.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
they've always been here. I get the impression the numbers now are higher.
Mm.
But if you look at the history of tuna, it may be there is this sort of either apex predators or mesopredators. And it changed in 1963, the very cold winter of 63.
Right.
It switched to a state which favored the gadoids. And we had what was called the Great Gadoid Expansion. So all
Right.
the cod species went through the top, and our apex predators declined.
Right.
And there's been a switch back, and there is some evidence it's actually rooted in the base of the food chain. So we don't really know. There has been a switch away from diatoms in the phytoplankton, but with zooplankton, there's been this sort of broadening of zooplankton. So we've got the normal copepods are declining, the Calanus, and we're getting another species of Calanus, but also we're getting a lot of gelatinous zooplankton.
Isn't that one of the reasons why basking sharks have kind of shifted?
Yeah.
Because I know, so I mean, we were chatting beforehand. So I used to live in Falmouth 2009 to 2012, and I think that was on the cusp of when they were still relatively reliable. Whereas now, I think you're pretty lucky to they go through Cornwall, but they don't stick around like they used
No,
to. They're all going up to the Hebrides now, right?
they are, yeah, Ireland and the Hebrides, and
Yeah,
that happened. I mean, 2005, they were very prevalent. You
yeah.
went out in May, you very likely see one, and I've probably seen one in the last 10 years, to be honest. But yeah, I think, as you said with tuna, I think you have a situation where fishing pressures and environmental factors combine.
Yeah.
And, who's to say that the octopus bloom, and though it's a event that's happened before, is it possible? I suppose that's my interest for the modeling. Is it possible this might become more frequent?
Yeah.
And not necessarily just because of warming, but because of sort of this idea that the system is disturbed.
Yes. Yeah.
If you have a disturbed system, then of course these sort of very quick growing sort of, live fast, die young species tend to be first colonizers.
Yeah.
And, is this something that I'd love to be able to predict it?
Yeah.
But you are dead right in going back to your original question. I can't see this bloom being going on as it is because there just isn't enough food.
No.
Eventually
No.
they'll run out of food. But unless you get a very cold winter, I think octopus will become much more common in the southwest. I just don't think we're going to see the situation where, we have at the moment where they are in numbers we haven't seen since 1952, probably.
So you're getting the commercial crabbers and lobster fishermen are obviously losing out because of the lack of crustaceans, but then isn't there the short-term gain of they're selling these octopus now, right? And they're making a bit of money off of those.
There is some of them have done very well,
Yeah.
but that's the minority. So I
Is
think
it?
it's the
Okay.
headline figure is sort of hiding what's really happened, which is
Right.
a lot of the smaller boats and the inshore boats. They haven't got the capacity to follow them out or go and pot or net the deep grounds.
Uh,
It's been very hit and miss. So you get one skipper would do okay,
hmm.
a quarter of a mile down the line, the bloke's caught no octopus.
Right.
So it's patchy, and a lot of the crab fishermen and I presume the scallop fishermen are actually in serious trouble. And crab fishing is, as I say, one of the more sustainable forms of fishing. It's happened for whatever. Do we really want to see its demise? But then again, is this going to become the new norm?
Yeah.
And my worry is that if they're not fishing for crab and lobster, what alternatives have they got?
Yeah. If from what you're describing, if the octopus are patchy, it doesn't sound a good business model to just solely focus on them if you're
No.
going to have boom and bust with them.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. The worst case scenario is the octopus disappear next year, and they're left with no crab.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you are facing a situation that there's a lot of people who are virtually bust, and there are a lot of people suffering real real anguish this Christmas because their headline figures might be down by 80%, and it's not nice to see these sort of traditional
No. 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 No.
fisheries, but some people have done very well.
Yeah. What's
Um,
the market like? Is it because I'm guessing like the British like we don't octopus isn't common on our menus. Is this all being exported to Europe
Yeah,
generally?
it's all being
Is it?
exported.
Yeah. Okay.
It's making decent money, 5 to 7 quid a kilo.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, in bad, if you catch a lot of it, it's pretty amazing. But even the ones who did very well on it early on have found that their late season crabbing has been atrocious.
Yeah.
So, and the octopus have gone. So you are one of the lads pulled his pots the other day, and he's got a lot of pots for 3 crab.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that is not even you're losing money going to
Yeah.
knock
Exactly.
it over your pots.
Those numbers
but
aren't going to work.
but the from the side of the divers, I mean, they've been able to stop in Corsan Bay and see octopus out of Plymouth and Falmouth. It's the Carrick Roads are full of octopus.
Yeah.
um It's fantastic. It must be an absolutely amazing experience because they are brilliant. I mean, no
Well,
matter what you think about them as whether you think it's a bloom or a plague, depending on, where you lie to see them. I mean, they're extraordinary creatures.
I've only ever seen one, and that was on a boat from Loo in September, and I was fishing for coma actually, which are another kind of fish
Oh,
that
I know.
turned up,
Another, yeah.
which are amazing looking things. And we had eight on the boat that day. I didn't know if we'd get one. We got eight, but hooked into something. I thought this feels like a plastic, like, really weird fight. It's like something's on there, and this bloody octopus came up and started squirting ink all over me and whatever. And the guy on the skipper was like, no, no, chuck it back in. We don't want to keep it. I was like, can we hack it up for bait? And he was like, no, no, that was blasphemy. Like that the idea that I think they were ready to throw me off
Oh,
for
was
that.
that
But
Murray or Dan?
it was Dan. It was
Dan
Dan actually.
Margus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, friend of mine. So
He was a good skipper, but yeah, they
good
wouldn't they
lad,
wouldn't
Dan.
they wouldn't let me hack the octopus up, which I know is probably we were struggling for bait that day, so I think I would have chopped my arm off at one point, but yeah, it went back fine anyway. But amazing to see it up close, incredible
Oh,
creature.
they're incredible creatures. I mean, the
Yeah,
color changes they go through. You imagine, you have a brain devoted to sucker function and color change.
yeah, it is amazing, isn't it?
And
Yeah,
you can, I mean, the ultimate multitasker, they'd be really fantastic at multitasking, and that's what they do for a living.
yeah. Does anything
Um,
eat? Do they have any predators? They must have predators, surely. I mean,
Conga,
there must be something profiting off the enormous amount of octopus.
yeah, conger eel. And
Ah,
blue shark is the other thing. Our blue sharks disappeared for a period in the summer. And when they turned up again, they had sucker marks all over them.
really? That's
And conger
interesting.
eel which are another species that have expanded in the sense that there are a lot more smaller ones around than there ever used to be.
Right.
And
Okay.
they're in a lot of places where they never used to be. And this was actually predicted in climate models. And they've taken the place of certain species, like in the Tamar, you now have an ecosystem dominated by conger eel,
Really?
which used to have the gadoids and the spotted cat shark was probably the dominant species, and now conger eel of all sizes. You've got a sort of a system where conger are eating conger and small conger are eating things that they normally wouldn't, which is sort of the crustaceans and things. But they are we've got some lovely pictures of conger, what we call full of sucker marks and
Right.
and and the potters are reporting lots more conger eel, not on rough ground, but actually on the clean ground. So they're out hunting octopus.
Because I suppose they're probably the perfect predator to get octopus, aren't they? Like if an octopus kind of squeezes into a gap, if any predator's going to
Oh
get
yeah.
him, it's going to be a conger, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the Risso's dolphin is the other thing, which is
Ah,
one of the well, sort of dolphin species that is an exclusive eater of cephalopods. Normally squids, but there are lots of pictures of them having predated an octopus. And there are also some pictures of the octopus getting their own back and sort of attaching themselves to the neck of a Risso's. And the Risso's looking slightly, they're not exactly defenseless octopus, put it that
no,
way.
no, I wouldn't want one to nip you, would you? But
No, no.
and
I mean, they're not harmful to humans, but they do have a powerful set of lytic enzymes for dissolving the insides of their prey. So you can imagine them if they evolved a toxin for humans, sort of injecting it in your ear and then sucking your brain out, sort of thing. So they're very cool.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a really complex picture. And you mentioned the coma. I mean, the coma is a species that we used to get reported about once every 3 years,
mm.
and now we are getting thousands.
It does seem. I mean, I definitely noticed this year that yeah, it used to be because I do a lot of species hunting. I'm quite keen on catching
Yeah.
weird and wonderful fish, and the coma was like a bit of a unicorn, which is like, oh, if you get one of those, it's a once in a lifetime thing. And as I said earlier, we had eight on the boat. We were getting sick of them. They were like wrasse. We were like, oh, another coma. And it
Yeah.
does seem like they are turning up from um, all through Cornwall, Devon. I don't know how far up country they've got, but they're turning up all over the shop.
Yeah, and they're an interesting species because there is some evidence on some reefs elsewhere that they will populate a reef and drive native species like wrasse off them. They're very
Really?
aggressive, even though they're small, they're very aggressive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we don't know the ecological impact. And as far as I know, nobody's studying them because it's another case. The only people who knows about them really are the anglers.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
they are breeding in the Plymouth Sound now. They're probably breeding in the Foul, I'd imagine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, there are species that has gone from being oddity to being a fact of life.
My prediction, I reckon, and give it 4 or 5 years, I think they'll be pretty. I mean, they're catching them from the shore as well now. I mean,
Yeah,
shore anglers have been catching them. I think they're going to be a much more common thing, definitely. And I guess that
yeah,
that that must be linked to warming waters, presumably.
probably. Yeah,
Presumably,
that probably is direct link to and things like John Dory numbers, which have gone through the roof. I mean, I love John Dory.
yeah. Never, yeah, that's one that's high on my. I've got a boat booked from Newlyn next year, Unleashed Charters. If you know the
Oh
Kieran.
yeah, Kieran. Yeah,
So I'm booked out with him because I'm desperate to get a John Dory. I really want to get one of those.
yeah. The most I've seen in one day is 42.
I'll take one. I'm not greedy.
Yeah, my biggest is sort of £7, and they fight like a dead pouting. You know you've
Yes.
got one because they come up like, but I've never seen anyone not smile when they see them. I mean, someone asked me if they go back all right, and I said, well, I never tried. They're a bit
But
too tasty to.
I'm told they're very good eating. Yeah,
They're
I'm told.
beautiful,
Are they?
absolutely
Okay.
beautiful. But again, it's all sort of a pattern of we're seeing things that were once an oddity, and now they're becoming
Yeah.
established. And we used to be able to rely on ling out of Plymouth. Ling was we can't catch pollock and cod will catch ling, and now much fewer ling. But you go off Falmouth in the deep water off the Lizard, and there's still good numbers of ling
Oh, okay.
back in
So
areas I used to fish from 40 odd years ago. So they're still there.
yeah, it's finding them, and it might be that they're getting more restricted in their habitats. I suppose
I
it's
think
like
so. Yeah, I think
yeah,
they're retreating westwards, and we've seen. I mean, I did some modelling of it, and you see weirdly Dover sole, all the apex predators, and hake on one side have increased, and all the cod species and things like herring and sprat have decreased.
yeah,
And it's a really marked thing. I mean, if you plot this stuff out in sort of two-dimensional space, these sort of multi-dimensional models, you'll see since 2015 that there is no similarity to what happened before.
yeah.
They completely cluster differently. So we have seen this boom shift. And it may be, even though we needed a unique set of circumstances, it may be now that octopus will become much more obvious, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas they were, as I said, it was an oddity. But we may get to the stage where these incredible creatures are around, but they're in numbers that wouldn't have the effect that having so many would have on the system.
things
But
balancing out, hopefully.
hopefully, yeah. But I mean, we are in the middle of a massive ecological experiment, and we don't know the outcome.
No, 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 no.
It's we don't mean to do it, but from various reasons, there are lots of things that combine. There are natural cycles, there is anthropogenic warming, there is fishing pressure, and we don't really know where we're going to end up.
No.
And do we end up with a system that's permanently in flux? In which case, you will favour these species that grow very quickly and have high numbers of
The
young.
adaptable species. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
the idea of the first colonizer.
yeah,
So yeah, even though it is an event that's happened before, and I see it annoys me when people say, "Oh yeah, this is warming," because clearly it happened in times when warming wasn't the thing.
yeah,
There are lots of things we can say are warming, like you said about the comber and things like that are probably related. But yeah, I think octopus is just one of those weird ones.
yeah.
Which is everything about octopus is weird, to be fair.
They're incredible creatures in that regard, aren't they? And you kind of briefly mentioned squid as well. Are they increasing? Because it seems I'm not sure whether it's that more people are squid fishing and they've always been there, or if there are more squid. But I know like not commercial squid fishing, sorry, like recreational squid fishing seems to be quite popular now. I've noticed like off Falmouth, Weymouth's really popular. You get people using these squid jigs, catching them at
Yeah.
night. And I just wonder have they always been around, or is it something that they're increasing in numbers as well?
The short number is the NBA have records of squid back to the 1920s, and it's always
Right,
been a case of boom and bust years. Again, probably for the same reason. I
got
mean,
you.
I know skippers who bought a new boat on the basis of one autumn fishing out of Falmouth for squid.
Yeah.
I mean, you won't believe the mess that squid will make of boats. You
Yes,
get
I
there at the end of
bet.
the bleach is the only answer. But yeah, they've always fluctuated in numbers. And there is a link to early season surface temperature for some of the species.
Right. Okay.
So you get warm springs, you tend to get larger numbers of squid around in the autumn.
Okay.
But yeah, they've always been here, but they've been a real sort of you wouldn't make your living on squid every year, put it that way. But I
Okay.
think people are much more willing to fish for them now. I mean, back in the day, you wouldn't have sold a squid fishing trip to anyone. They wouldn't be interested. But
No. Yeah, no, there seem to be a few people doing it now. I've only ever done it once, and that was off Falmouth a couple of months ago. It's great fun. It's like you can like put the torch on them, and they're
oh,
so
they're
quick.
amazing. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is such good fun, and I would imagine pretty sustainable. I think squid's a fairly sustainable food to eat, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, again, a bit like octopus. If you asked me to do a stock assessment, how do you do a stock assessment on a creature that breeds so damn quickly? And
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's even got this weird biphasic growth, which doesn't fit into our any models, where early on it grows really, really rapidly and then sort of stabilizes off. So, I mean, I think they were talking at one of the steering group meetings the other day about doing a stock assessment, and I'm trying to go through my head thinking how you do it.
Yeah.
It's it, and even if you can, because you've got a year, maybe two, and it's driven largely by the environment.
Hmm.
And even if you catch a huge amount, if you get the right conditions, they could probably repopulate very, very quickly. So yeah, it's the squid. The whole cephalopods are always been flaky. And we saw the curled octopus, the single-suckered octopus, in about 2015, 2016. We were going out shark fishing, and you were trying to catch whiting, and you were just getting octopus every drop. These little tiny little curled
Really?
octopus. And again, they disappeared, and then lo be it, in 2025, here come the common octopus.
Yeah, it does seem maybe cycle's the wrong word because it's happening so infrequently, but it's not from what you're describing, it's not uncommon. It's happened before. It's
Yeah.
something that's, it's not a complete freak event, is it?
Well, no, I mean, if you look at cod, it was always said to go. The Western cod was always said to go in a 7-year cycle. And if you take out the trend that fishing has on cod numbers, so the higher the the fishing mortality, your cod stocks will eventually start to go down. If you flatten it out, you will see these 7-year cycles.
Hmm.
So you actually see what we talked about years ago in action, and then you plot them against herring numbers, and you see that a lag of 3 years, they marry perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
you've got these sort of systems, and you think, how does that work then? Because it's 7 years, and then you plot them with sprat, and you realize every 7 years, herring and sprat sort of coincide, and you get big numbers, and then you
Yeah.
get cod.
Yeah.
So that I'm very interested at looking is if an early sign of a problem with the fishery could be a disturbance to these natural cycles.
Yeah, which would make sense, wouldn't it? Obviously, if the
Yeah.
food's being disturbed, then the predators that eat that are going to obviously be affected.
Mm. Absolutely, and it's I know I'm going for the subject a bit, but single species stock assessments are just it's all we use, but we have an ecosystem,
Yeah.
and we have a social ecosystem. So it's not just the effects on the ecosystem of taking stuff out; it's the effects on the fisherman. What is the fisherman going to do if he can't fish for one species,
Yeah.
and is what he's going to fish for be less sustainable? And that's sort of my worry with octopus. Could you end up with the elasmobranchs being under huge pressure?
Yeah.
Um, which again won't take it.
No, because
There
they're a lot
is,
slower breeding, aren't they?
yeah, they're the opposite. They like stability. They do well in stability, and we have seen things like blue sharks, and again the one thing that has in common, which is sort of this break in the maybe there's this break in the food chain where energy flow has been disrupted since 2015. So the species that do very well aren't born here.
Ah.
So are you seeing a situation where you're reducing the number of species that are born here, but you've still got enough food to encourage species that were born elsewhere?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Your average blue shark will do 4 to 5,000 mile in a year.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And so the ones we're seeing now will be off the coast of Africa. Tuna, and though they're here quite a lot of the year, they'll still go back to the Med.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not born in this area. So are you favouring species that aren't, poor beagle again, probably more likely, but thresher shark, species we used to rarely see. I mean, now are following the tuna, which is incredible. If you ever see a thresher tail out of the
I would.
water,
That would be quite high on my list to see. They were not predating tuna, surely. Are they too?
no, they're actually in with the bass quite a lot of the time.
Are they?
So
Okay.
I had never been lucky. I'd seen two mako in my lifetime, which is like
Oh wow.
ridiculous.
Well, yeah. That's a hell of a thing.
And both, well, one out of Falmouth, one out of Plymouth, jumping. But I'd never seen a thresher. I don't know why I'd never seen one, and I
Yeah.
saw one off the manacles last year.
Oh, incredible.
So yeah, it was just the tail smashing in the middle of a bass shoal, and I'm like, I was catching catching bass on surface lures, and it was like, do you know what? I'm just going to watch the
Yeah,
fish.
well, I think
You know,
I'd be
it's
with you there, 100%. Yeah, that's they're just incredible
but
looking
no,
fish.
it's sort of this pattern of very unpredictable um, what's going to happen one year to the next, and again, it's probably a combination of natural cycles, anthropogenic influences, such as climate and fishing pressure, all sort of combining. And I suppose that's my big interest. I mean, octopus are fascinating because how do they fit in?
Yeah, yeah,
Can we predict them from oceanic conditions, or is it much more complicated than that?
yeah, yeah, and they're quite. I mean, as an animal, considering it's got quite an alien looking feature, the public, certainly from a non eating point of view, they quite everyone likes an octopus. They're quite kind of an interesting species to see. Like I said, well, even if you're not a diver, I mean, divers love them obviously, but what was the Netflix series, My Octopus Teacher? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that garnered quite a lot of sympathy, and that's perhaps even why the market for eating them in the UK is pretty low. Like everyone will eat a squid ring. Everyone's quite happy to munch a battered
yeah.
tempura squid ring, but if you dare suggest eating an octopus, you'll get a kick in the arse. So it's
Yeah, well, it's exactly what Dan was telling you. It's
yeah,
almost like there is a certain respect for these creatures, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
And you can't help admire them. I mean, I expect every crab fisherman would probably burn me at the stake for saying it, but it's ridiculous. I mean, from everything from an evolutionary point of view, from a biochemistry point of view. I mean, I did my PhD on metabolism of this really weird carbon phosphorus bounded compound that sort of dates back to when the Earth had no oxygen. And of course, octopus use it in their cell membranes.
yeah.
Of course they do. That if they don't breed, because octopus has things called senescence where they breed and they die. So their optic gland actually releases hormones that then cause programmed cell death.
Right.
But if they don't breed, they still don't live long, and eventually they go senile. So imagine a senile octopus. I mean, it's just they just forget how to do things. So whatever these incredibly complex, very different neural network has, it's obviously not meant to last.
No, 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 no.
But it
Yeah,
is, I mean, if you can imagine, if a child learnt at the rate an octopus did, we'd all have geniuses within 6 months.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And if octopus lived for 50 years, I would be worshipping our new octopus overlords. Um,
yeah. We wouldn't stand a chance, would we?
no, we really wouldn't. I mean, it would just be accept your fate. I mean, they are very impressive. I mean, one of the really cool things is, believe it or not, they have front doors.
Octopus. They've got. They're like the Ringo. Was it Octopus Garden? They've got their own little.
Yeah,
They
they
go.
do. They have their nest, and then they grab a scallop shell and use it as a front door. It's like, right, I'm closing my door. I mean, I'm very surprised they haven't got a post box and but yeah, they have a front door, and all the fishermen are saying the same. There's one of the Newlyn lads has been fishing for them with the traditional traps, unbaited traps, and he said, yeah, yeah, they actually get a scallop shell and block the end of the trap.
So you're only going to
So
get
we've
one in
almost got to
there.
wrestle with an octopus to get them to open the door.
Christ.
And he said, the first time he went out to catch them, he said, oh, I got three. And I put them on the deck. I put them in a pot, and suddenly all three of them were on the deck. And they all went in different directions over the side of the boat. And I just sat there and laughed.
Yeah.
It was like
They'd
sort of
they'd organised it.
coordinated, right, lads, let's bolt.
It's
And
phenomenal.
and they are having swum with them. I mean, they'll change color. You can tell to somewhat what their moods are. Um, the way they swim is extraordinary. They can crawl or they can swim. I mean, a jet-propelled, alien monster, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, from every point of view, they are a hugely impressive creature.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not. I'm very happy that they exist in our ecosystem. I'm probably less happy that they are in a situation where they could have profound effects. Because who knows what fills the void when the octopus bloom dies down?
Well, yeah, this is it, and I guess as well some species like crawfish, which
Mm.
are on tenuous hooks anyway. I would imagine octopus be having effects on their numbers,
Oh, they
presumably.
love them. Yeah,
Do
yeah.
they? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
an extra lobster as well. They'll
yeah,
eat, and quite often, I mean, especially the small ones, because they can get out of almost anything. The rule of thumb is if it's wider than a tentacle, they can get out of it.
wow.
Yeah, the advantage of having virtually no bones. I mean, you've only got to put your beak through something. Um,
So
and
very,
but
very
we,
few things can hide away. Basically, there's no escape generally
yeah, yeah,
within reason.
yeah, they're hugely adaptable to what they eat. I mean, we're only seeing the commercial species they eat. I mean, we know they eat a lot of clam that aren't caught
Yeah,
commercially. They're in the foul, so you have a very old sail-only oyster fisher in the foul.
yeah, of course, yeah,
And I've seen some interesting pictures of oyster shells. I mean, they seem to like to have lots of shells around their layers. And the octopus garden thing's got some truth in it.
mm,
It's almost like they're decorating.
yeah.
I, I don't know why they do it. I mean, you can sex an octopus if you want to. If you ever see one,
Go
the
on and
third
how
right tentacle of a male hasn't got suckers on the end.
is that right?
Yeah. So if you go from look from sort of the way you are, so you think your right arm, the third
Yeah.
right one, the end of it has no suckers. And the reason why is they use it to pass the sac of sperm to the female.
Ah.
Because they don't want to get too close. They want to basically pass over that sac of sperm and leg it. Otherwise, you'll lunch.
That
So
makes sense.
yeah, it's I've had the interesting task of sexing octopus, which is not something I ever saw in my career.
Well, these things have to be done, don't they? If
Oh,
you're gonna,
it's great to be. I mean, one of the wonderful things is reaching that period of life where you realize how little you know,
yeah, which is
and
nice, I think. You don't want to know
oh, it's
everything, do
brilliant.
you? You want everything.
And,
Yeah.
and and I think it's brilliant being wrong. Like I was saying about our hypothesis, beautiful, elegant hypothesis about larval transport, and it fits everything apart from the facts. And you know what? It's brilliant being wrong. And I think people don't appreciate what a learning tool is to be wrong. They're so reticent to do it. But for me, it's a pleasure to be wrong. I just admit it and say, okay, well, I was wrong.
Well,
Great, I'll move on.
that's all you can do. You mentioned like so that there's been studies, and do you say there's a report that's coming out on this?
Yeah, there's a report that is out any day now, which Bryce Stewart, myself, Emma Sheehan at the Plymouth University put together for DEFRA and for the Devon County Council and Plymouth City Council. And it's really to provide an idea about the extent of the bloom, how it's spread,
Yeah,
um, and also the impacts on fishermen.
yeah, of
So
course.
we haven't really, it wasn't part of our remit to provide management recommendations. That's not really what we do. It was just to sort of investigate what the effects have been so far and try and understand if we can predict it. And at the moment, we seem to have a set of conditions that need to be there. That again, you would only get a few months warning at best.
Yeah,
So if you get a warm spring, very warm summer, you might well get octopus. But again, as I said, if the crustacean numbers are on the floor, and what are octopus going to eat next? They're quite happy to eat small fish.
yeah. They can catch them,
They
they'll
eat
get them.
shore crabs, though they will reluctantly eat spider crabs. I think spider crabs are a bit of a challenge because of the shells. Um, what will they eat? But I suspect, as you very rightly pointing out, eventually it'll just be a self-regulating thing, and they'll just run out of food, and they'll settle down before all these outbreaks have been terminated by a very cold winter.
Yeah. Is the report going to be open to the public, or is
Yes,
that? Yeah, it is.
they'll be
Okay, so
freely available.
so if people want to find that, where would they head to?
It will probably be on its own Plymouth University website. So
Okay.
I'll send a link
Yeah, yeah.
when we have it.
I can link
Unfortunately,
that.
it was supposed to be released as well, first of all, a couple of weeks ago and then today, but we're having problems getting DEFRA to sign it off at the moment because it takes a little bit of time for government to
Yeah.
agree on the joint stance for the press release.
Yeah, I can imagine it's like juggling with an octopus trying dealing with some.
Octopus are much more fun than doing that.
Well, look, it's been a pleasure chatting, Simon. I've seen this story pop up throughout the year, so it's been interesting to see kind of different points of view on it, and some idea into why we've had so many of them. Because obviously they are incredible creatures, and obviously I don't rely on crabs for a living, so I'm probably a little bit more sympathetic. But I can also see that side of things that yeah, it would be a little bit little bit worrying.
Yeah,
But
no, they are extraordinary, but as with all things, if you get huge numbers of them, they can be problematic. But
yeah,
I hope things settle down. I don't really want to see a lot of people I know go out of business.
no, definitely not. No, we don't want that.
Because, as I say, it's a very sustainable form of fishing, and but we are seeing these enormous changes in our ecosystem. It's probably it's probably happened before to a degree, but we don't really know where it's going. I mean, it's a very exciting time to be at sea. I mean, you will see things that 20 years ago you never would have seen.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I would encourage anyone who has an interest in the sea, get out there and see what's there. And I think there's enormous amount of I think from a photographer's point of view, I mean, there's such an immense variety of life living off the southwest now that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime.
I regret not living there now. Yeah, not our coastal wildlife of Nottingham is not particularly high.
Oh, I'm sorry about that one.
Yeah, but
About as far as you can get away, but
well, pretty much. I mean, one of my joys was rock pooling. I used to love rock
oh,
pooling.
same here.
And just, some of the stuff that you'd find then was amazing. Cornwall was particularly good. And I
Oh,
imagine now that's going to be the frontier for a lot of some of these new species. You're just going to lift a rock up and think, what the fuck is that? And
no, no, I remember the first time I saw well, both Cornish and Connemara clingfish. It's like, what's that?
yeah, yeah,
Really
yeah, yeah.
strange looking creature. And there's so much wildlife that people don't appreciate that's there again because it's covered by the sea, and it's this mysterious world that gives up its wealth cautiously, I would say, but at the same time, it also hides a multitude of sins, so we don't really see what happens.
Yeah,
So we've got to love it, and I think by promoting it both as a resource to be exploited, but a resource to be enjoyed, and I think access to it should be similar.
yeah.
We shouldn't prioritize one over the other because I can tell you it's probably done an awful lot of favors to my mental health over the years.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, likewise. It is. It's
If you find yourself down this way, I'm sure we can meet up and we can go and see some interesting species. And
yeah.
even if Kieran doesn't manage it, I can probably manage you with John Dory.
Oh well, don't say that, Simon, because I'll be in the car now. Because yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm very keen to get one. So yeah, I'll take you up on that. But
Yeah,
look,
yeah. I mean, yeah, the other species like Cooch's bream. I mean, now are
I've had a cooches. I
you
got
had a
one.
cooch.
I got one in the fowl right up the estuary,
Oh yeah,
which was lovely. Yeah, I'm on 107 UK species at the moment, so I'm ticking them off nicely. I've got a few. I'll send you a list. I'll send you my shopping list.
yeah. I must admit, I spent the summer hunting carp, so I sort of do both. I was up on the moors hunting carp, so I had a
Was
few.
that one of the reservoirs, Crowdy or something, or
Oh,
Collingford?
it's a Cadover Bridge.
Okay.
There's three lakes there, and one of them's hardly fished, and it's just it's just I've had a few health issues, and being at sea's been more difficult, and I've always course fished as well as
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
just any time I'm near water, I'm happy basically. But yeah, it's a shame because I haven't been at sea as much as I normally did, and of course it's one of the great times to see things.
yeah.
Um,
It's good fun.
I mean, there was a swordfish reported off a Loo a couple of years ago, and
Wow.
there are probably 8 or 9 that get caught in the herds deeps every year on in various gear. So
Commercially caught.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. I mean,
probably
it's only going to be a matter of time, isn't it? Someone's going to get one eventually when the tuna
yeah.
fish
There's a couple of boats that have coming up next year that are going back fish really deep and distant lands, and I imagine one of them will get a sword.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
incredible.
yeah, and I mean, there's probably the odd rogue marlin species we get here washed up, and I mean, yeah. But did you see the bonito caught
I
off?
did saw that. Yes, the record, right?
Yeah, but Dan Hawkins had quite a few really
Really?
more size, and they are big. I mean, they are beauties, and they
They're,
were in the bass fishery, so you had a chance of a bonito in the bass fishery, and
yeah, that would be good. I've caught them in Lanzarote. Obviously, I won't count that for my UK list, but I've seen them. But yeah, they're amazing looking. They're like a bullet, aren't they? They're just muscle.
yeah. I've caught small ones when I've
Yeah.
been just mackerel. You get the odd one in there, and you get chub mackerel and all sorts of things. But I've never seen one that size. I imagine that was great fun.
Oh God, yeah, your reel's just going to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I have had small albacore before.
Oh wow, okay. What
Before
when
we
you're
saw
at Bassing?
bluefin tuna, we used to occasionally see albacore or falmouth.
I wonder if they've pushed them out, the bluefins, or there'll still be a.
Possibly, yeah,
Yeah,
possibly. I mean, Yeah, no, we used to see them flying next to the boat occasionally at odd times of the year. You know, you look out and there's this thing almost doing us, you know. And the other thing I've seen is flying fish.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Yeah,
Wow.
every so often on a really warm year, you'll see flying fish. You know, sunfish are just a fact of life out there in the summer now.
Yeah, I've seen one a few years ago, and yeah, they're just weird looking things.
It
Very
does have
very.
somebody's bitten their back half off, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, just waving at you. That fin coming up, and yeah,
I mean, I always thought they were the ocean's great slackers. They just sort of carried the currents waiting to get hit by a super tanker. But if you annoy them, they've got a surprising burst of speed that I can't quite work out where it comes from.
yeah, because it's
You know,
not
how
it's
did
not
you
at the back,
propel
is it?
yourself like that? Yeah, and I mean things like garfish, which when we were shark fishing used to be thousands around the boat. You could catch massive garfish. I didn't see a single one last year.
Isn't that? I mean, I don't. I think it's more anecdotal, but a lot of people are linking that to tuna, aren't they?
Well, possibly, but
Yeah.
you know, it's the other thing we found is the northern spread of mackerel. So
Right.
now mackerel are really a winter species, but they're catching them off Greenland and Iceland. And you know, for the instance of blue sharks are almost now thermally separated from mackerel during the summer. So
Wow.
the mackerel are so far north, the blues can't go into that water; it's too cold for them. So is that one of the reasons? And again, you know, I won't go into it now, but you can link these up to subtle changes in the current systems.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, weird things that happen in the subarctic are then linked to the number of blue sharks. You think you've got a degree change in the current 3,000 miles away, that equates to quite a long distance.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
blue sharks are the ultimate. I mean, you know, if you ever wanted to talk blue sharks, are my favorite species. I could just bore you to death and beyond with them. You know,
I've swam with them a few times, but yeah, they're incredible. They are
well,
beautiful.
we had one of the Chippy also had a huge one, but we had a 10 foot two one to the side of the
Christ.
boat. And I actually hooked it. I was crewing on the day and I hooked it, and the bloke had hurt his back and he said, "Oh, you play this." And about 10 minutes in, said, "Mate, I'm gonna have to prop you in the corner because she's about to spool us." So we had to follow a blue shark. I mean, I thought it was a thresher, and we got this thing to the side of the boat, and it was this enormous male blue shark. Now that again is unusual. We never used to see males, about 98% females.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
started to see evidence of both mating and also pupping in the southwest.
Wow. Okay. Well, like small blue sharks were being seen then.
Tiny little
Yeah.
things
So
that
they got
were
to have been.
almost. And we got them aged by Michel Pazzarotti at NOAA from the umbilical scars. He said they're only 1 to 2 weeks old.
So they had to have been born there.
They've been
Yeah.
born here, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we've got quite a lot of future work. But you might be interested if we get the project. We're actually going to go out and tag a lot of sharks next year.
Oh wow. Yeah. That
So
would.
if
Yeah.
you'd like to jump on board, and
I
you're
would
very
love to. Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd love to
Um,
do that, Simon. Yeah.
and hopefully we'll get Noah over again if the orange monster doesn't ruin everything for us. Yeah, funding's a bit interesting with him there, but
Mm.
yeah, Agent Orange has been a bit of a problem for our transatlantic work.
Yeah, I bet he
But
has. Yeah.
sorry, I'm no longer allowed into the States, I'd imagine, after saying that.
They'll find this. Yeah, maybe we've been vague enough that you can equate that to something else. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, it's a fascinating world. Time to work on sharks. Poor beagle numbers are up, threshers are up. But yeah, I mean, blue sharks are my absolute favorite. They're just the most beautiful creature I've ever seen.
they are phenomenal. I'm sure we could waffle all day about marine life. So as much
I
as I'm
am very
enjoying this,
sorry. I come
no,
to
you're not. Don't apologise. I love it. I'm an enabler. I will happily do it. But I think we'll cut it there. But look, thanks for coming on, Simon. It's been a pleasure to talk about Octopus
absolute
and
pleasure as well.
everything.
Hope to do it again. Take care.
That was Simon Thomas. I don't know if you noticed, but I did have a bit of a cold there. So whatever flu that the entire country seems to have had at the minute, I was battling that through that interview. And in fact, I had to cancel on Simon for our initial date. And then eventually we did get around to it. But he was a good sport and really good. I could have talked to Simon all day. We did go off on a tangent slightly at the end there. But anyone talking about fish, I'm obviously going to waffle to them. I have actually got a future guest coming on to talk about climate change and how that's affecting what's turning up in our seas for a future episode. So if you enjoyed that sort of stuff, I will be talking about that with somebody else in an upcoming episode. If you can't donate to the podcast via buymeacoffee.com, there's a link in the description for that if you can. If you can't, another way that you can help is by leaving a review. So however you're listening to this podcast, whether it's on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever, leaving a review massively helps us out. And also, if you could just share it with anyone that you think will like the podcast, the more listeners that we get, the better. And as I've mentioned before, I also do YouTube, so if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, that doesn't cost you anything, and that helps YouTube work out that people like what I'm doing, and I get ad revenue from YouTube. I actually get some money from that. So any of those things, they don't cost you a penny, takes you a couple of minutes, and it just really helps me out. I've actually got most of this new season's podcast recorded now. I've got one or two more that I want to do, but pretty much there, so it's all kind of fitting in nicely. So the full season, weekly episodes will be back in April. I've kind of loosely been doing monthly episodes here and there. I'll try and stick to that, but if not, April, full season's coming back, weekly episodes. This has been the Bearded Tits Podcast. I've been your host, Jack Perks, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Cheers.